Alright guys, this is your boy Retro back at you with another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and actually this video is going to go on my my second channel, and this is just pretty much a basic tutorial. I'm just going to go down, try to cover as much as I can and get exact pinpoint details on just the basics of Yu-Gi-Oh, and this is for a few people that requested me to do this, just for some learners experience. So I'm going to go ahead and explain how this goes. We're going to go through we're going to go through most of these bullet points. Alright, so names and roles. Let's just get the first part of that out the way, because I think understanding how the layout of the dueling arena actually works is fundamental. So, here we go. Alright, so I'm just going to gloss various cards. Alright, so the bottom half is called the back row, which is what I call the back row, and that's where you can place your spells and trap cards. Okay, so you see this hole right here where the cursor is at. You have 5 back row spots. 5. So if you count, that's 5 spots where your spells and traps go at, right there. Now on the other side of the screen, that's your opponent's side of the field. So your side is there, and their side is on the other half. And they have a back row as well, and they have a front row. The front row is where the monsters go. So you got 5 spell and trap zones and 5 monster zones. So as it's saying here, first the monster card zone, which is those the 5 I just said. This is where you summon monsters during a duel, and you can place them practically anywhere you want. Now some games allow you to put them anywhere you want. Some games you have specifics. You have 5 spots, 4 or 5 back row spots. That's where the monsters go after they to the graveyard. They can be destroyed to the graveyard, destroyed and sent to the graveyard. They can be sent from the deck to the graveyard. They can be sent from the extra deck to the graveyard, which I'll go talk about the extra deck in a little bit. And there's probably another way I'm forgetting, but there's a few ways they can be sent to the graveyard. Not just by battle. They can be sent there through your doing or your opponent's doing with a card effect. So that's the graveyard right there. Okay, monsters that are destroyed by result of battle and spell and traps have been placed there. Okay. And you can view your opponent's graveyard, and they can view it. They can view your graveyard as well. This is what you call the deck zone, and this is where you have your deck. Now, in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, you cannot have a deck under 40 cards. It has to at least be 40 cards, and the maximum amount of cards you can put in your deck is 60. So, as you can see right here, this deck has 40 cards. Like I said, you cannot have less than 40. So, at least 40. So, I made a video about this maybe about a year or two ago about how to build a balanced Yu-Gi-Oh deck. And the formula that most people go by is 20 monster cards, 20 magics, and 20 spell. 20 monster cards, 10 magics, and 10 spells. So that gives you your 40. So that gives you a balanced deck. Now what you decide to put in those 10 and 10 for the spell and traps, that's up to you. But that's just the blueprint formula of how most people make their 40 card deck. Alright, a deck is a stack of cards used during a duel. No shit. As I said, in the game between 40 and 60 cards. Okay. This right here is what we call the remove card zone. These are where cards go from either the graveyard to the remove zone, from the field to the remove zone, the deck to the remove zone, or the extra deck. As you can see, that little corner right there. The field card zone. This is where you can place field spell cards right above your extra deck. This is where field spell cards are played, which has special effects, which we'll go into that later. And this is the extra deck zone where your fusion monsters go, your synchro monsters go, or your XYZ material monsters go. I think those are the only 3 types of cards that go in the extra deck. You knowing me, when I'm doing these type of videos, I always forget something, but I think those are the 3 that can go in the extra deck. Okay, there we go. Fusion, Synchro, XYZ monsters. Cool. So all you would do is whenever you're ready to Synchro and all that stuff, which I'll explain later, you would just click on that and bam. Alright, let's take a look at the different types of cards. Cards that can be used on a duel are based monster, spells, and trap cards. Cards that are yellow, orange, violet, white, blue, and black are monster cards. Monster cards are divided into 6 kinds based on their color. Any of these monsters can be activated. Any of these monsters can battle and attack your opponent. So pretty much the card you see here with the elemental hero Avion, that's a, I guess want to say a yellowish kind of color. And those are monsters with no effects. And then you have the orange cards, which are monsters with effects. Synchro monsters are usually highlighted in a whitish color. Blue monsters are usually ritual monsters. XYZ monsters are black. Fusion monsters are purple. And it might have been something else, but I forgot. Spell cards are usually green, as you can see with the brain control here. Spell cards, okay, we don't need to go there. Trap cards are pink, purplish, whatever you want to call it. So that's how you, and of course it'll say trap card on there, so you can kind of easily identify that. Trap cards have the ability to surprise your opponent by disrupting attacks and strategies. Most trap cards are activated in response to an action taken by your opponent. So you can activate a trap card without any sort of like response to your opponent. Some cards can do that. Most times trap cards are used in response to an opponent's move as a counter attack. Not necessarily a counter attack, but like I said, in a response. Remember, the difference between monsters, spells, and traps are placed differently on the field. So obviously trap cards cannot go in the front row. Well, in some cases, you have monster trap cards, like a hybrid type of card, but I'm not going to go into that. Let's just keep it generic. Spells and traps go in the back, monsters are in the front row. Because there are different situations, like Crystal Beast monsters can go in the magic and trap zone, and you got some trap monsters, so we're not going to go into that. Alright, that concludes the lesson on that, so pretty much I've been glossed over that. So that's part 1. Okay, so that's going to be the first